Welcome to this Times Techies webinar. I'm Shilpa Fadnis and I have with me my colleague Akhil George. The two of us will moderate today's discussion. Today, we'll try to understand the metaverse, what it means for people and businesses. The metaverse is a network of 3D virtual worlds. These are worlds that let you socialize, learn, collaborate, and play in ways that we can't even begin to imagine at the moment. It'll create a confluence of physical and digital worlds. To understand this better, we have with us four seasoned professionals. We have Wang. Ray is the CEO of Silicon Valley-based Constellation Research. He is the co-host of Disrupt TV, a weekly enterprise tech and leadership webcast that averages 50,000 views per episode. Ooh. His groundbreaking best-selling book on digital transformation, Disrupting Digital Business, was published by the Harvard Business Review Press in 2015. Ray's new best-selling book titled Everybody Wants to Rule the World is about digital giants and the future of businesses. It was released last year. Welcome, Ray.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ray.
We also have Jagdish Mitra. He's the Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Growth at Mahindra. As Chief Strategy Officer, Jagdish is responsible for driving global business growth. Jagdish is passionate about scaling SMEs and startups with a focused interest in deep tech and innovation, as well as driving positive change through social empowerment. Previously, he served as the CEO of Canvas M, which is a JV between Tech Mahindra and Motorola. In a career spanning over 25 years, he has played many roles spanning across sales, business development, and large deals. Welcome, Jagdish. We also have Stefano Corazza, Head of Augmented Reality and VP and Fellow at Adobe. Stefano is a former researcher at Stanford University's Biomotion Lab, where he developed machine learning solutions for markerless motion capture. He later founded Mixamo, the first online service for 3D character animation. The company was acquired by Adobe in 2015, and Stefano went on to become Adobe's head of augmented reality. Stefano is an artist, angel investor, startup investor, and also the founder of the Festival of the Impossible. Welcome, Stefano.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And we also have Vinayak Godse. Vinayak is Vice President of the Data Security Council of India. Vinayak has over 27 years of experience in information security, IT transformation, telecom switching infrastructure, intelligent networking, and broadband infrastructure. The Data Security Council of India is a not-for-profit company set up by NASCOM. He oversees DSCI's initiatives to enhance the security and privacy culture in the country, create trust in cyberspace, build a cybersecurity industry in the country, and enact a conducive policy environment. Welcome, Vinayak.
Thank you, Akhil. Thank you for having me here.
Now, those who are viewing this can send in questions through the Facebook comment box. Shilpa and I will put them to Ray, Jagdish, Stefano, and Vinayak. And with that, we can move on to the first question. So this is an open question. Anyone can take it. Please jump in whenever you want. So now the metaverse is generating a lot of excitement with companies of all sizes attempting to get a head start in the field. However, everyone has a distinct take on it. How would you characterize metaverse and how would it help businesses? Who wants to go first?
Let me give it a try. Let me give it a try, Akhil. First of all, please, thanks. Please. I think I hope you can hear me okay. I think this couldn't have been more topical. I mean, you hear about Meta and Metaverse since the time it's actually been made popular by Mark Zuckerberg renaming his company as Meta. But then that's not the only vision of Meta, I think, that you'll hear from me and my co-panelists today. So you'd probably see the usage of Meta across businesses a lot more rather than only being limited to consumers and for entertainment. So we've seen versions of Metaverse already play. Some will argue that it's not a new thing. Neither is the technology coming together is a new thing, in the sense that the aspects of technology that are going to be used in Metaverse, whether it is augmented reality, virtual reality, AI, data science, and so on and so forth, and the visualization and the connectivity piece is not new. It's just that it's coming together as if all the dots are getting connected now. We've got now high bandwidth with private LTE or 5G coming together. We've got very well developed tools and devices that are going to give you that experience. We've now figured out how this is going to get used, especially thanks to COVID. I mean, there is some of the things that COVID is going to accelerate. This is one of them, which will enable us with hybrid work, customer service, metaverse commerce. And soon, I don't think I'll be speaking out of my hat if I say, at the end of the day, like we say, we can't live without internet. It's not too far off where you'll start saying you can't live without not having a metaverse ecosystem around. That would be my comment.
Yeah, taking off from Jagdish. Ray, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, look, I'm really excited about this, right? When we talk metaverse, there are the cool technologies, right? So you got glasses, you've got the hardware, you've got potentially, human APIs that pump in your brain that you can control, right? We're going to have the worlds, right? We see those already, right? Some of them are coming out of the gaming world. Some are coming out of social networks. Every brand's going to have their own world. It's going to be like commerce sites. We'll have our malls and those are going to come out. But there's also other things when we think about the metaverse economy. We actually do see the 2D to 3D transition happening, but we see other forces at work. And these other forces are taking us in the world of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, which are kind of the governance models. They're the funding models. They're the membership rules. They're value exchange, how we actually get paid for things. They're also these organizing bodies in the long run that are going to make automated decisions. So you got that going on. You've got value exchange that's happening in currencies. Everybody wants to have their own credit systems, or, it could be in Bitcoin. It could be a stable coin, right? And then we also have the Web 3.0 technology underlying that. That stack to us is the metaverse economy, which is worth 20.7 trillion by 2030. Now let's take that into account. 20.7 trillion is almost as big as the entire public markets for tech companies today in terms of market caps. And so this is going to be everywhere, as Jagdish said, because we're going to be experiencing it like the way we looked at the internet. And so the creator economy meets data-driven digital networks. That means we're going to have a whole different digital experience.
A very interesting data point, 20 trillion by 2030. That's the economy. Stefano, from an enterprise standpoint, how are you geared up for the meta?
So we have tried to really create a taxonomy around the metaverse, because all the businesses are getting hit by this massive wave of hype and buzzwords, and they're asking us, so what should we do from a practical standpoint, right? Sometimes it's hard to weave a strategy when you get all these all these changes from governance to rendering to the way online experiences live. And so we see this as an evolution of digital experiences, where the online world and social and gaming and maps all come together to create the metaverse. And we have basically developed a white paper to tell businesses how to get metaverse ready. And the number one thing that they, I think, should do is to really think about transitioning to the digital world. Every good or every asset they are selling or is representing their brand. And so getting metaverse ready means get all your inventory in 3D, create a 3D basically art pipeline in your company, whether it is internal or externalized, and then be ready to bring all this content with the best fidelity out there, because there will be basically three main ways for businesses to connect with the metaverse. Some big ones with a big critical mass, a big following, will create their own probably. And they will try to bring people in there. Some others will actually create experiences or stores inside other people's metaverses and other platforms. We have seen, McLaren inside Roblox most recently. That's a great example. And then there will be other opportunities there, like a smaller investment to just create ad hoc metaverse activations for brand awareness or for just engage with a specific audience. And so I think brands will have to figure out in how deep they go and how strongly they invest in the metaverse. But the common denominator is really move everything that you have, you're selling to the digital world in 3D with PBR rendering and photorealism so that you can best represent your goods and your brand in the metaverse. And of course, Adobe is well positioned to provide the whole like tool chain from modeling to texturing to delivering all those experiences.
Thanks, Stefano. Vinayak, if you can talk about Metaverse and how do you see that from a DSCI standpoint, from a security landscape as well?
Yeah, so I think what we see, right? So if you look at from the larger big history perspective, right? So there are a lot of thresholds that we are seeing, right? And language is one, agriculture could be another one, internet was one, and now probably the meta and entire Web3 is trying to bring a new threshold to the society and probably new paradigm to the society, which would be probably changing references to so many things, basically, so many different areas, right? From our personal behavior to personal transaction to the social exchanges to social transaction that we all do to financial transaction that we do, the properties that we own, the entertainment that basically we try to engage ourselves, the games that we play, to the even larger marketing that we do, the governance that basically that we try to look at basically, and entire so everything is probably will be going to change the way things are evolving, and there are different ways that people approach to this. So one way is definitely there's a community which is investing into this one, so different tokens are coming and people are investing into this one. So there's one way to look at from the investment perspective. Other way is to look at largely from the gaming perspective. So and that community is definitely driving that. Sort of communities, basically the devices and solutions, basically like Microsoft has a lot of devices in this area, so they are looking at somebody trying to drive it from the social media perspective. But what is interesting for us is the projects that basically coming in this area. So underlying projects are very interesting projects to see what is going to change basically and how that will be changing the way we all do, and kind of a perspective we have for the governance, for the regulation, for the law enforcement specific requirement, and over the matter how the security and privacy and many of the personal rights can be imposed in this paradigm. So we see from all of those dimensions, but more importantly, we see from the paradigm change that is happening because of the metaverse.
Sure, thanks, Vinayak. This question is again to the panel. While technologies such as augmented reality and virtual reality have been there for a while, how will the metaverse differ from them? What are some of the opportunities you see for firms moving into and wanting to delve into the metaverse? What are the applications of metaverse for businesses? Stefano, do you want to go first on this?
Oh, absolutely. So we don't see AR and VR as like alternative to the metaverse, but more like some of the ways people will consume content in the metaverse. And we have tried to like create a taxonomy and a way to tell the story about this. And we have categorized basically the type of metaverses into four categories, depending how deep they go into VR or AR. And so from one extreme, the 100% grounded in the real world AR is what we can see, for example, with Google Maps, where they started adding like a wayfinding and maybe the fox that is playful. So that's the type of metaverse that exists in AR with a single layer of content placed on it. The opposite spectrum, you have, for example, Meta. It's fully VR, is no anchor to the real world. There's no real world map in there. And there is like it's limitless in terms of like how much space there is in there. And then we have like flavors of those in the middle. For example, you know, what we have seen with Niantic Lightship, where actually you can create multiple layers of content on top of the real world. And those are basically becoming like AR metaverses. Or we have also companies that are creating like perfect digital twins of the real world, but in the metaverse. So it's still the real world map and constraints, but it's actually all into like a more free and more virtual type of environment. So these are like just the four flavors of AR and VR in the metaverse, and there's like hybrids, and there's ways to go from one to the other. Like if I'm a bus stop and I'm on like Google Maps AR world, I can place like a portal in there and then jump into a VR experience. And so they actually cross connect. So it may see a little bit confusing, but basically the message is for the user is there will be a lot of experiences created in the metaverse. They will have AR and VR aspect, and I think it is up to the business to figure out what makes sense for that specific action or for that specific context, so that they're actually not imposing the experience to the user, but they're actually augmenting and complementing what the users are trying to do, and developing algorithms to figure out the intent of the user. I think is going to be more and more important in order to blend those experiences into their daily life.
Right, blending those experiences. Ray, coming to you, more recently, JP Morgan was one of the first banks betting big on Metaverse. They said it's $1 trillion opportunity every year, and they're the first bank to open open in the virtual world. So if you can take us through, what is your reading into the Metaverse economy and blending of this physical and digital world?
Yeah, we actually agree. I agree with Stefano there. I mean, these enterprise use cases and consumer ones are built on engagement and experience, right? And, we see a lot of consumer use cases from gaming to entertainment to sports betting. And those are one place that we see that pop up. And you're going to see every brand have those experiences. But the most interesting area is going to actually happen in the enterprise, employee experiences and the future of work. Think about how we already move from meetings. We're going to go from 2D to 3D. That's just one area. We're going to look at onboarding differently. How do we get physically diverse candidates together to share experiences? It's more than just serve-ups and kiosks. Training is going to look very different in live simulations. Imagine you're on an oil rig and you want to see what it's like for safety training and video, right? Recruiting is going to change. We worry about bias. I can hear your voice. I can see your skin color. I can hear your accent, right? Well, that's going to go away. Maybe my avatar is going to interview your avatar and see what happens, right? And of course, we see a lot of work in digital twins, and they're going to run simulations, to identify hazards or to identify training or risk. But then, of course, there's customer experience and commerce, and that's very exciting, right? Advertising and search is going to change. The amount of data that's in the background that's going to create mass personalization at scale, the ability to suggest ads, suggest actions is going to be there. So new consumer experiences as we look at campaign automation, sales, thinking about what happens. We have 3D demos that are going to be different. We're going to be moving around in these different worlds for commerce. And of course, these digital worlds, these digital malls, these are going to be immersive showrooms. And then, of course, there's customer service and support that's going to change as well. And of course, we see live events. There's about 43 use cases we see here between employee experience, future of work, commerce, and customer experience that people should definitely take a look at.
Interesting. Jagdish, Ray also touched upon the use cases of Meta. So if you can, and in the enterprise, if you can help us understand, you've already launched a Meta platform. What are your customers seeing early traction and business use cases?
Sure. And I think, Shilpa, let me start with your example. You and George, Vijit, with Akhil, sorry, you guys are today doing an interview, sitting somewhere and talking to us. It's not too far, as you know, China has had a AI-based metaverse anchor. Now that day is not too far where, Shilpa, you and Akhil are interviewing here, but your meta or your avatar is doing another interview. It's not just your image. It's not just your visual lookalike, but AI and data science makes it ask the right questions, knows what Shilpa is interested in. How does Shilpa ask the questions? What she really has been her follow-up, that data is stored, and your avatar keeps on machine learning and keeps talking about it. That's the opportunity. So you could do two jobs at the same time. Times could gain from it. You could go talk to multiple people, and you could gain from taking a lot of work together. But the biggest thing, I think, is the first time, as we people are talking about the Web 3.0 and this whole new avatar of Metaverse coming together, I think this is the first time that the left brain and the right brain will have to coexist to work together. It's the great fusion of creativity and technology. So when people like, Stefano said he's an artist, I wish I could say in my hand that I sing. Only thing is that you guys will have to shut your mics. But the point is that, you need people like those to collaborate. The whole point of this technology will be about the right brain and left brain coming together, and the huge opportunity of creativity and technology coming together. Now let me talk to you about the Metaverse platform that we launched. We launched it parallelly from Hyderabad and in Barcelona as the Mobile World Congress happened, with the avatars of our CEO and our colleagues being in both places and doing the same launch. How does this help with our customers? We are already doing today one of them Ray already spoke about. So with oil and gas companies and manufacturing plants, we are doing digital twins, which have avatars of people working together. With banks and with retail companies, we are doing customer service setup. So, and with people like ourselves, we are now starting to do what is called the hybrid work. So it's no longer just me here, but people sitting around the room and doing a meeting across the board. That's the opportunity of what you could do. The low-hanging fruits here are training, customer service, and meetings. You could do those absolutely right now, and those are use cases and technologies that are in huge demand as people start, our customers are asking us to deploy.
That's interesting. Vinayak, do you want to take us through the opportunities that and the concerns that some of your customers are raising?
Opportunity-wise, there are immense opportunity, and not only from the enterprise perspective, we have good application development, maintenance community, and now individual developer can contribute here, right? So most of the models here, especially the Web3 models, are like a developer contributing to community and helping build those kind of platforms. We have like Polygon is one example, then another study app. Then I have seen a lot of interesting metaverse ecosystem getting created in India. For example, Gianwas, basically they're building entire Indian mythology based kind of metaverse ecosystem. So I looked at one of the startup out of Bangalore. They have been developing a lot of those content for which can be leveraged for the many of these kind of ideas basically. So as Jagdish talked about, so creative people. I recently looked at one small hometown and I looked at small town places, and they have been teaching animation courses basically, but now we can leapfrog them to work in a such kind of possibilities basically. So what used to be having access to this creative skills basically, so the metaverse could probably throw immense level of opportunity apart from the engineers and coders and developers basically. But yes, for engineers and coders and developers basically, they can explore a lot of those projects, and most of the projects that I see in Web3 parlance is basically largely decentralized projects, and you can contribute a lot to that. And there are a lot of ecosystem I'm seeing in terms of getting you all to teach people how to program those blockchains, how to develop this kind of top of the platforms, how to look at all of those kind of high level application, how to bring the creativity, how to use the gaming. So India is a gaming the capital of the world, and a lot of gamers are there which are developing games, and they can immediately to creating content in a meta ecosystem basically. So this is definitely one opportunity area, but from the concern perspective, I really like to bring to the table. So many things would be done in such a way that which will be very difficult for us to bring that current legal and regulatory structure. And for that matter, if it is really Web3 and decentralized way of putting things together, an entire legal and regulation had been talking about, for example, intermediaries, one entity controlling everything. We talk about data controller, we talk about body corporate. So the fixing liabilities and fixing probably obligations basically, or imposing some of those requirements would be very, very difficult and critical here basically. We have been struggling with respect to taking some of those kind of physical space issues and problem to the digital space basically, and we had been trying to evolve by putting together cyber laws, putting together data protection regulation. But imagine the things that will be going to entirely new paradigm that we just talked about. So what will happen? For example, if I'm killing digital avatar, so what that means to physical crime that you may see here basically, will that be physical crime or civil crime basically? So all that will be creating a lot of those kind of challenges from the policy making perspective. We are working with some of the policy makers to just understand this better and trying to see, put that in a perspective where we can understand this from the policy perspective, from the issues perspective, from the cybersecurity perspective. Frauds are definitely one of the important areas that we need to deal here, because most of our transactions are happening globally, and the entire ecosystem from the token economy perspective, all these projects which are coming, and most of the projects, some projects could be very fraudulent in nature basically. So how do we make sure that people are putting too much of money into this as well? So we have seen quite a jump from in terms of the money that people are putting in this particular platform. How do we make this ecosystem, the player and the intermediaries working in this area more like responsible, accountable to the all of those things that we know in case of digital and in case of physical ecosystem basically. But at the same time, small part in terms of this would also solve a lot of environmental problems. This will also solve a lot of those hiring for that matter is still very localized, still very discriminatory, but probably this could provide quite a good opportunity for a lot of new talent that we are creating in this country, which can be hired at a very different level, and they themselves can also contribute and develop something new. And it's very possible with a Web3 ecosystem that we are building in this ecosystem.
Sure.
Okay, excellent. I'm sure our India audience will be curious to know about the India case studies. Can someone talk about how whether India is ready to usher in the new metaverse, and what are some practical case studies? Maybe Jagdish might be the right person, but
Sure, Akhil. See, first of all, there are two ways to look at this. One, opportunity for us as a country from an economy perspective, businesses, government, so on and so forth. That's one way. Second, we have one of the largest number of gaming community, social media community, etc., in this country. So our ability to be able to get them into this world of metaverse is probably going to be much faster. They're already into gaming, they're already into using this. And then you have a large base of people who are in the IT industry. So the opportunity in all three ways lies for India to really be the leader in this space, really take the position of strength in this space. You have huge amount of creative talent in this country. This is the time for the creative talent for come together, not just for NFTs or digital paintings and so on and so forth, but converting what the co-panelists were saying, what the experience looks like. But let me go back to where the opportunity lies, where it will have the biggest opportunity for us. I mean, one of the things that we have struggled with in this country is manufacturing. And this is an opportunity for us to be able to completely take manufacturing into a different level, because today you have digital twins to do it. You don't have to worry about raw materials and availability of the plant in one place and skills in another place. Now your digital twin can operate wherever your raw material is, and your skills are available for doing that. So you're training people. As soon as you start training people, you get them together. Second part is agriculture. For us, in terms of the whole agriculture part of deciding what to do, how to make sure you get the right manure and make sure that your avatars are able to, or you're experimenting with deciding that what each square meter, which is square kilometer of our agricultural land can be best processed by using this. Our metaverse will allow you to do it. I think Ray talked a little bit about where you test things out in the meta world before you go through and do it. Here, with spatial technology, with allowing us to be able to experiment things in a lab environment, and then being able to take together the whole aspect of spreading it across multiple areas. Same in health tech. I mean, look at us, right? We've probably got the majority of very good of our doctors and physicians all sitting in our tier 1 cities. Our tier 2 and then our smaller villages and towns are suffering from not being able to take that into account. Now the meta world will allow you to do absolutely precision remote connectivity with 5G, which is going to allow you to do slice technology and make sure that you're able to now do surgeries in a small town in Bihar or in a small town in Tamil Nadu and do it from sitting in Delhi or in Mumbai. That's the opportunity for this country.
Ray, taking on from where Jagdish spoke about the creator economy. So where the creator economy meets the metaverse economy, and if you can extend that to the enterprises, if you can help us understand what kind of talent play do you see in the market? What are some of the hot skills that one has to gear up for the meta?
Yeah, there's a lot, right? And one of the things that we tell folks to think about when they're getting started is really there's 7 steps we see to get to the metaverse, right? We still need branding people. We have to align your physical presence with the way your brand and your mission and purpose look like in a new channel. And we really want to do that brand strategy and context where the metaverse economy is. And then, of course, what the skill sets that we need is people need to work on platforms. There are different platforms. People are going to be building in different technology platforms that are out there. Some of the popular gaming engines, those are going to be important. And it's also then people that actually know how to build reusable digital assets. It's going to be an area where lots of people are going to spend time. They're going to figure out how to actually build, an engagement and experience module, being able to do that across different modalities. So it'll be physical, it'll be metaverse, it'll be mobile, it'll be cloud, it'll be all these other areas that are all coming together. And then of course, you're still going to need analytics and automation skills along with design skills. And this was right. I mean, Jagdish said this earlier, right? The left brain and the right brain are coming together. We need these change agents that are out there. And basically, that capability to figure out, where do we actually create new digital artisans as they come to life? That's one of the things that are going to be important. And so your developer skills are important. Your creative skills are going to be even more important. Your math skills are going to be super important. And right now today, a lot of that's going to be in the worlds. A lot of that's going to be in the hardware development. But in the future, it's going to be designing new types of organizations and membership models. This is where, and part of the reason we see the worlds, the APIs, the DAOs, the value exchange and the blockchain and the Web 3.0 technologies coming in. And Web 3.0 is going to play a big role because of the decentralization technologies that are going to merge that hopefully, if we actually do this properly, we'll be able to transition from different worlds into other worlds. And there's still going to be walled gardens, but more and more of these will allow us to take our personal data, our personal information, and bring it into different worlds.
Right. But Ray, in your conversation with some of your the enterprise customers, do you see them already putting some sort of a blueprint around their talent playbook? How is it looking different from the digital ones?
I'm going to be really honest. Everybody started out and said, we're going to create an NFT or put a world or a storefront somewhere, right? That's how they all started, right? But that shiny object will be fun. It'll be exciting. And then we're going to see a little dip until people start to realize, what does it mean to engage in that metaverse? What will it mean to actually be able to create those new opportunities? And how do we want to engage with our customers, our experiences, or how do we engage with our employees or other stakeholders? So I think we're get past the shiny object of, cool, I have an NFT, to, hey, I've got a storefront in a world. And then we'll get serious about what that means to really develop those experiences that align with our brands.
Right.
And I would like to...
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, please. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Please go ahead, Stefano. I was just asking you from an Adobe standpoint, from prototype to execution, if you've done some projects and can share some details around that.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on a concept that Ray brought up about portability, which I think is extremely important. And we have seen that at Adobe coming a lot when we talk to enterprise customers. So the goal is for any business to create digital twins of what they have, or create, maybe avatars of their representation in the metaverse, and be able to port that into different metaverses and go basically into all these walled gardens. At the moment, that's not the reality. You still have to create specific content for your Roblox or Fortnite or Decentraland, and they're not perfectly compatible. And also there's no a governance infrastructure that can track who owns what. We see a huge opportunity in the area of standards, file formats, where we start a process of standardization of not only 3D assets, but also the interactivity of those 3D assets. So as Adobe, we are involved in some of those efforts. GLTF is being the main one. And we are looking into that as becoming the path to standardization and portability in the metaverse.
And from a talent standpoint, Stefano, you already have some called out some critical roles that you want to, extend the pipe to.
I think there's one type of job that I will mention that before it was basically only tied to VFX studios and animation studios, that now is going to become more and more common. It's the technical artist, people that really understand the full 3D pipeline. They can actually create a full workflow for the business. Can understand how data will flow from, let's say, a CAD model of a manufacturing plant all the way to a marketing campaign created with an asset in a metaverse. I think that will be a skill in very high demand. And right now, there's not a ton of those. And right now, there's one that this like new technical artist that has a lot of 3D knowledge will be very valuable.
All right. All right. Jagdish, from a talent playbook, if you can help us understand what are some of the roles that you identified, even within the organization, if you can upskill some of them, what are some of those roles that you're seeing?
See, absolutely, Shilpa. There is, upskilling is a critical part of this. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
So the upskilling is a critical part of building this model because, without that happening, it's a new set of skills. So you're not going to have them in full and abundance across the board outside. So within our company and within the set of universities, academia, it has to be a collaborative initiative. What we are doing right now in Tech Mahindra, for example, is we're doing a following set of engagement with our people, which we are training them to move towards leveraging some of the technologies with use cases in mind. So in our case, what we are training people is, tell me about the applications or the use cases in the banking industry. For example, we work there. We work in the media and entertainment and the communications industry. What are the use cases there? And then probably apply it to us. And same for manufacturing, retail, travel, transport, airline experience. The horizontals are built around 7 layers of capability within the company, from infrastructure to sensors to data analytics to AI and so on and so forth, leading up to finally at the top layer, which is experience. And it sort of works well with the fact that we have a brand statement which says connected world, connected experience. And that's what we are trying to leverage with each one of them, saying, let's define the industry use cases, training people on industry use cases. The technology uplift is across the company. The same AI, same data science, same virtual reality skills, same augmented reality skills are getting augmented to a large extent. But the skill lies in being able to create the use cases and make it happen with technology. So we are trying to make sure that it is business downwards rather than technology upwards. That's the change that we are trying to bring together to this. We're doing this with ourselves. We are also doing it with enterprises. We are going to enterprises and some of them in India. I can't name them here, but they're doing engagement programs. Some of our international customers are doing engagement programs with us, where they're helping their employees to learn how to leverage their business in the metaverse. I think one of them, Stefano, Ray, or Vinayak mentioned that you have to start imagining what a retail shop will look like. Now, how will you behave in that retail shop? How will you accept payment? Vinayak talked about crime or security or data breach. How will you handle that? So how will you know that someone's ordered in the metaverse and got to be shipped and wants to check it out here? So all those connectivity and those terms that we call as, seamless and multi-threaded experience is where we are focusing on mainly. We are getting people to be ready on.
Okay, okay.
We have actually launched a Metaverse Academy within the company.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. And you get to choose your avatars also?
Absolutely. So this has got to be the fun part of it. You can choose your avatars, but you can also learn to know where your skill levels lie, what you need to learn. You can draw up your roadmap, and we're doing that with all our associates.
Okay, okay. What does a typical day in the metaverse look like, in your opinion? What are the primary requirements for organizations who must adhere to while they're using the metaverse? Ray, do you want to go first on this?
Yeah, happy to. We've been working with about 100 clients on these metaverse models and metaverse economies. And, a typical day walking into the metaverse, I think you have to imagine that just like we used to think the cloud is different, mobile's a different channel, social's a different channel, the metaverse is going to be another one of those immersive experiences we bring together. I hesitate. I don't want to use the word omni-channel. So the idea is these immersive experiences are going to be seamless, right? You might start the day by seeing what's happening, walking in to see, what was my day like? My day's being organized as we start to speak. So I have a virtual world, I have a physical world. They're all going to come together. You might participate in, collaboration rooms and collaboration meetings that are actually happening where, you've got colleagues that are actually showing demonstrations. We may even get to a day where we don't even have these headsets, right? Things are actually going to happen just in the screens that we're in, and we're able to pop in. And so we're going to be navigating our physical and our digital worlds at the same time. So that's the first part that's going to be interesting. The second part that's going to change is really our view in terms of our interactions. There are people, just like over the last 24 months, who you've never met in person, right? You've only seen them in a 2D environment. We'll have those situations where you only see each other in a 3D environment. And so when we meet, it's going to be something special. You don't meet just to meet, right? When you sit down to actually break bread and share a conversation and engage, right? You'll have those experiences in 3D. They'll be very rich. They'll be very engaging. But then again, there'll be that craving for the physical world. What does it look like when we kind of connect, right? And that's also something in the day in the life. You're going to be blending those experiences along with you. Now, there may be a day where my avatar talks to your avatar, and maybe we do sync up later. And that's going to be another kind of thing where my representation is going to be out there, right? But these are kind of the futurist interactions. We can see what would that be like, as you drop off kids to school, as you attend a meeting, as you go out and do a training session, as you start thinking about what you do for a live engagement or conference, right? Or how you collaborate with your colleagues over work. Those things are going to happen. And we just have to keep in mind that the important piece is to make it seamless, to make it portable, to be in a way that kind of protects our privacy. And more importantly, helps us really actually create more enriching experiences than anything else.
And Shilpa, I would love
Right.
to add a little bit on those experiences that Ray and Jagdish mentioned. So we talk about like the the retail experience. So think about you go into a store and there's maybe 50 people in there, and there's like 2 clerks that can talk to you or help you find stuff. And then a lot of time you spend it there, maybe trying out products that they don't have in the inventory. Or you go to a museum. That's another very interesting experience. They hand you like a audio headset, and you have to match the number that you hear with what you're seeing, like completely out of context. And there's 1 docent per room, and you have like 100 people in there, and nobody can really have the bandwidth to explain you what you're looking at. So these are just incredible examples how the experience will be completely changed in the metaverse, where actually we will have this concept of digital companions. And I think that is something that each company should know about and should invest, because we will have these virtual instances of people that will help us in support, shopping, learning, guide us through our day. And those 3D characters will be able to talk back to us. They will be knowledgeable about who we are, what we want to do. They have like the massive knowledge base of the internet at their disposal, and they're really going to help us in the day-to-day. So we are, as Adobe, investing a lot on this type of technology. It's very cloud connected, of course, and there's a lot of AI involved. But I think more and more brands will interact with their audience through those digital companions. They will become at some point just part of our lives. Like we will all have an executive assistant that is there 24/7 for us, understands what we're trying to do. And then we'll have this like a embodiment as a 3D character, 3D avatar that will be basically in our daily lives, and will just help us be more productive and more efficient.
Thanks, Stefano. Vinayak, coming to you, you just spoke about, the governance, risk, and compliance framework for this new world, right? So if you can take us through what are the security guardrails that companies need to put in place even before they actually venture into it? Because the kind of risk and, sometimes it can even have legal implications. How do you really handle that at an early stage, build it into the platform?
Yeah, so if you look at the way this paradigm is evolving, and based on this paradigm, the legal ecosystem will also evolve, right? So you would be certainly performing a role there. And we know from our experience working in a Web3, Web2, basically, we all have been performing a role like an intermediary, somebody which is putting things together, probably not contributing from the content would be intermediary, something somebody who is trying to build system and probably getting people to work on the system could be a body corporate. That sometimes you may be in the business of collecting the information directly from the consumer, so that will be data controller, data processor. So such kind of roles had been evolving last 10-15 years of time because of the Web 2 paradigm that we are into basically. So now in Web 3 paradigm, and especially in Metaverse basically, so more and more data, more and more experiences, more and more possibilities will be created. As Jagdish talked about, is the data would be probably you are represented by data, right? And you are represented by your avatars basically, right? So we used to, in our ancient culture, we used to talk about spirit and body, and now your avatar, your data is now increasingly becoming independent of your body basically, right? So calls may be made to that particular avatar and responses can be sought for that. In that case, accountability will become an issue. In that case, use of that data when you are here and after you basically could be an important part. So consent and choice and legitimate use of a data, the harm that you can inflict on a particular person by misusing that data, that would create a lot of those possibilities basically. Anything that you do digitization, and this is taking digitization entirely to a new level, so means you will be increasing footprint quite significantly. Until now, it's just your keyboard, just your keystrokes and some of your images, some of your videos basically. Now, a lot of your physiological parameters will also be captured digitally, and that will be the digital footprint of that will be also available for people to look at. Not only that, there are a lot of possible ways for people to see that footprint and probably try to find a different kind of attack ecosystem, creating ecosystem, compromise security and privacy as well. Understanding the privacy or personal right in this paradigm will be very difficult and very complex challenge, and may not be that easy in terms of finding solutions to that as well actually. So when companies are laying out this plan, yes, some of the industrial use cases are still easy to manage, but when it crosses the boundary, for example, we are talking about financial transaction processing, we are talking about a lot of social engagement, we are talking about a lot of those property specific. Now people are selling land on a virtual system. So what will happen to property right? Will people enjoy the property right or not? A lot of frauds are also coming. A lot of new projects are also sometimes they come with a fraudulent intention basically. There are issue of monopolization in this area because most of the crypto projects that we see in the place of the Web3, DeFi, DAO, or for that matter Metaverse, the early investor or early stage people probably have a lot of those value with them. The entire economical language, transaction processing language is also going to be changed quite significantly. So we talk about now total value captured, some kind of terms basically. So from the financial perspective, from the legal perspective, from security perspective, from the privacy perspective and overall ethics as well, because a lot of things you will be dealing with the physiological parameter. So many things we like to do which could probably cross a lot of those moral and ethical boundaries as well. So laying down a framework for a nation will be difficult, but more importantly for the companies to find which is right and which is not would be not that easy decision basically. So all these will be probably putting a lot of those interesting challenges to solve, and we'll need a lot of people's mind and brains to think this in a very different perspective and try to put a solution, try to find solutions for that in a way that it will not also creating a lot of complex bureaucratic challenges for innovation that we'll be seeing in the coming future.
Sure. To bring in Jagdish and Stefano, from an enterprise standpoint, if you can talk about the initial GRC framework that you've already put in place to operate in the metaverse.
Yeah,
Sorry, Stefano, go ahead.
No, please, you go ahead.
No, in India, we have a terminology calling Pehle Aap, which means you.
No, please, I'm just learning today from you, so please go ahead.
So from our enterprise perspective, I think some basic things that Shilpa we are putting together is two things. One, in terms of, as I said, frameworks for doing industry-wise solutions. So what that means is for us and for any business and an industry, at the end of the day, what matters is what is the business outcome? What does it mean to me in terms of putting together a business outcome? And therefore, the more focus is completely from a GRC perspective is only on driving business outcomes there and driving that whole business model around industry-specific solutions that we can create. We're doing a few other things around it. For example, every industry's factory of the future lab, or the digital bank of the future, where you would, we talked about in the beginning, every time this could be huge, because every time commerce has changed the way it is done, it has expanded the market. So from phone to digital commerce to social media enabled commerce to now meta commerce, that could just explode the market of doing commerce. So those are the things that we are focused on in terms of what we're trying to do.
Right. Stefano, do you want to share your thoughts on this?
I was just trying to bring up one topic about there are basically two big areas of infrastructure that companies should really focus. And we have talked a lot about the creative part, creating the content and creating digital companions and creating digital twins for your inventory, for the products you're selling, for your brand experiences. But there's another aspect that is pretty big that is around like distribution. How do your experiences reach your audience? And we have been talking also on the chat about file formats and distribution. So that's going to be kind of a pretty major challenge. And we saw in one of the questions that our audience asked on Facebook about, there are so many metaverses already, Decentraland, Sandbox, which one should we pick and what should we do, right? So it's going to take some time for companies like Adobe to create this like abstraction layer where you create once and then we help you distribute everywhere, including like in walled gardens. We are completely committed to that today. And with Adobe Experience Manager, we are already deploying, digital experience to hundreds of millions of people. But this is going to be the place where there's going to be the most friction at the beginning. Because getting into these walled gardens when the standards are not there, it's going to be challenging. It's like we are driving, a big truck, but there's like a single track trail that we can drive through. And so it's going to take a little bit of time. We will need everybody's help to rally around a unified standards, and then also the engine aspect is important. So if you go back in time, believe it or not, there was a time when you could not just embed and play a video on the browser. It sounds like weird today, but you actually needed like a media player to do that. And right now for these immersive experiences is exactly like that. You need an engine, Unity, Unreal, Adobe Mercury. You need an engine to play those experiences for you. Over time, this will be commoditized. It will become maybe part of the browser or part of your headset native capabilities, but we are not there yet. So I just want to make businesses aware that those highways are being built today. And again, for them, like being prepared to create portable content is the best way to invest now as those things are being figured out.
I want to jump in.
Sure, sir. Yeah. Sure, go ahead, Jagdish.
Shilpa, if I may, that same thing, that it's the beginning of, like they say, the S-curve of a technology. And you would find people creating new formats, new areas. That doesn't stop them from, that's how innovation happens, that's how creation happens. And I think as we start to go together, like Stefano said, their standards will emerge. You take it from, good old VCR tapes to now. The early part of every journey is about everyone trying to create something together. And then suddenly starts to happen as it starts to become mature and acceptable. APIs get developed and standards get evolved, and we don't even talk about it anymore. So I don't think one should be worried too much about which one to go for. What suits for your business is what you go for right now. And then you will find ways and means of another technology capability developing, which allows you to move and migrate. Sorry, Ray.
No, you're right. It's 1997. I don't know which browser is going to win, right? I don't know which website's going to win. I don't know which digital asset format I should be doing. Should I build this website in Cold Fusion, or hey, where this is going to go, right? So we're at that point in time, and that's what makes this really exciting. But what we are seeing right now is a battle for resources, right? I mean, Jagdish, you guys have created your resources. Emphasis is creating a foundry. Accenture's got their metaverse bets, right? So there's going to be a battle for resources. Do I have my Adobe resource? Do I Unity resource? Do you have a Roblox resource? Have you built anything for Epic, right? That's one part. Do you know how to build twins in Matterport, right? All these are going to become really important, and people are starting to build out those skill sets. And you'll see in Udemy or Pluralsight or Skillsoft that suddenly these are going to be the hot skills. It won't be PyTorch and Python and other things. It's going to be, hey, do you have a Unity developer, right? It's going to be that kind of crazy. Or can you build this in AEM, right? So you're going to see lots of things like this pop up, which makes it exciting.
Yeah, and there's so much work to be done around collaboration. Maybe our team's TechM's, the software engineer, is collaborating with its Meta avatar, and we have two software engineers. Like I told Shilpa, she may have two people taking the interview. Or maybe it's us versus, like, the NVIDIA BMW case study, where both of them collaborated and created a factory of the future together. So the collaboration part is another big thing that will happen, because talent will be all over the place.
And one point Shilpa I would like to add here is many things would also happen out of the enterprise boundaries, right? Because this entire ecosystem is also significantly decentralized way, right? People coming together and building something new would be also one of the important things that would happen in coming future. And some of the interesting ideas I see here is things would be very commoditized in the development as well. So entry barrier in terms of skills and technology may not be that significant in this area. There will be some areas which will require you to have very significant skill set, but because of the no code way of doing things, because things are becoming so simplified for you to come and build your own thing. So sometimes I think this is also because of Web3, I think this will also be very democratized for anybody to come ahead and contribute to this ecosystem and probably gain out of commercially or intellectually as well.
Right,
what I'm really worried about are the deep fakes, right? They're going to be really good. So we're going to have some kind of frameworks and standards across those as well. So.
Absolutely. Deep fakes, I know it gets scarier. Let's see how it plays out. We have some interesting audience questions. This is from Pranav Gupta. Work of fictions like Ready Player One showed the grim possibilities of metaverse-like ecosystems. How can we ensure at these foundation stages that we do not end up in such scenarios? Ray, do you want to go first?
The design point has to be on a decentralized model, right? Where the power is not accumulated by the few, right? In our report, Monetizing the Metaverse Economy, we talked about the age of innocence. That's when everyone put up a website, things were great. Then we got to the age of digital giants, which is the book we wrote about. Everybody wants to rule the world because it's like power concentrated in the few. We're trying to get into the age of the metaverse economy. We see it, right? Decentralized finance, Web 3.0 technologies, right? We're just at the cusp of that. And then we've got the big giants trying to force their technologies on us again. And the question is, who's going to win? Now, it's a classic battle, centralized versus decentralized. We'll take the best parts of centralization, which we need, right? I need to authenticate. I need some governance. I need some rules, some adjudication. But then how do we unleash the creativity of decentralization and allow us to keep our personal property rights, our personal data, making sure that that's portable and that's owned by the individual, and they're asked for value exchange or consent. But that's not all going to happen right away. And we are at the very beginning, because I still can't tell you if it's going to be ALL and Netscape or, I have no idea who these Google guys are. They're not even invented. So that's kind of how we are. We're just at the beginning, but it's going to be very exciting. And that's why we say it's 20.7 trillion by 2030. There's so much invention ahead of us.
Absolutely. This one is from Sanket Monday. How will the future of AR and VR transform metaverse in the next 5 years? Jagdish, do you want to take this?
Well, I think apart from, improvement in terms of the look and feel and the speed at which you deploy and the emotions and so on and so forth, because, one of the things that you miss out in this kind of a gathering today is that we could have probably done it sitting together in a room. It would have been really more exciting. But your avatars, if they do it, and can they give you that experience? I think one of the things we talked about was some of those experiences being almost near physical. So the AR VR's opportunity is to make sure that you're getting near physical. But more importantly is the role of tech to enable AR VR. I started off by telling you that, the opportunity for you to be able to constantly getting updated through saying you're talking about a topic, but imagine AI and data science breathing into your avatar and saying, hey, listen, we talked about fakes. You can't suddenly sort of talk about something and say that, someone tells you that, I'm sorry if it's political, someone tells you that Trump is the most popular guy right now. you probably want to sort of, you probably want to come back to the person who's asking the question at that point from avatar and say, no, that's wrong. 20% of people only feel he's good, 80% feel he's not good. And this is the statistic. So the role of technology, AI, data science to make AR, VR more real life, more personalized. So, when we started talking, if you two were to do this interview in your avatar, how do you make sure that it's almost asking the same questions that you would have wanted? That's the role of AI and data science into AR/VR. So AR/VR on its own will improve, but the ability for technology to drive that and make it real will be much better.
All right. I just, in the interest of time, we just have 2 more audience questions to go. Is that okay, Stefano, Vinayak?
Yeah.
Okay. And we would like to thank Wang for his time. He had to step into another meeting. Thank you, Ray, for the energetic conversation. Thank you so much. This question is from Suresh Mali. There are already so many metaverse ecosystems, Decentraland, Sandbox, similar to crypto coins. For enterprises, it may not make much sense to invest in one particular ecosystem. How is that going to how is the future going to look like? Stefano, you briefly touched upon this topic.
Yeah, I did, and I can expand a little bit. Again, it's going to be hard to see 2 things. First, is this a winner takes all situation where there was going to be one metaverse that's going to be disproportionately larger, more popular than all the others, and it's going to be the main one. And then the other question is, of the ones that are there today, how many are going to make it into mainstream? And so I remember when I started Mixamo in 2007, that year there were 340 virtual worlds company getting funding. And then, we can probably only name a few now that we remember, like, Second Life and IonView, but it's a little bit the same. So we are seeing like blossoming, and I think it's great, of a lot of different metaverses that have different take, different infrastructure, different target, different audience. And it's really hard to know which ones will stick and will reach critical mass. And so from a business perspective, again, as these scenarios are playing out, there are a few that right now are, I would say, at the front and center. I think Sandbox and the Decentraland are 2 great examples. And so even though we don't know if they're going to win, it's very useful for a business to try to go full stack and take the goods, convert them to digital twins, bring them into at least one of those worlds, and then try to deploy for our audience, and then start right away learning about how to create the interaction, because the interaction model with the audience is going to change quite a bit, going from like a standard web page or push notification on a phone versus like a metaverse situation. So I encourage businesses to first digitize as much as they have, and rely on those standard GLTF and USDZ for the content to be portable, but at the same time starting to get into the metaverse and build those pipelines of content and try all the way in, because there's going to be so much learning to be achieved in the first months and years of the metaverse. And also it's going to be fun, honestly, to reinvent for business to reinvent itself in the metaverse.
Thanks, Stefano. This is the last question for the day. This is from Mazhar Ahmad. How can talent working on Web 2.0 be a part of the upcoming Web 3.0 revolution?
Want me to go for it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
please,
so I think if you look at technology stack, yes, there will be certainly some areas from the technology is definitely important for Web 2, but if you are looking from decentralized perspective, I think a lot of those technology stack that you are learning in Web 2 could be useful for you. You probably need to add something on a Web 3 technology, especially the blockchain programming and many of those kind of like Rust or like Ethereum programming and all of this thing you probably need to know. So that's one important part. Other part is basically the people working on building those Web 2 solutions. Basically for them, many things as I talked about is more commoditized basically. So in this paradigm, design is very important. In this paradigm, looking at those 4 years is very important. So that ability, if you really try to bring together. So that could be one of the best way that you will be contributing to this ecosystem basically. So creative mindset is very important on top of the technology skill that you have.
Right. Thank you, Jagdish. Thank you, Stefano. Thank you, Vinayak, and thank you, Ray, who's just left because he had to step into a meeting. Thank you for this engaging discussion, and hope to have this discussion on a future date in the metaverse with our virtual avatars on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Good
so
fun.
Our
much.
pleasure
It
to
was a
have you all on
pleasure.
the platform.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so. Thank you. Bye.